to welcome you to this episode of Strike Back. We thank you so much for joining this podcast. And tonight is going to be a special night. Have the privilege of conducting this podcast every week. And so tonight we have a very special guest with us. But even before I get to our guest, I want to take this opportunity to welcome every person that is joining us via this social media platform. We thank you for taking time out on this good Monday evening to be here with us. And so we want to get straight into why we are here tonight. I have my brother, Keith Campbell, here with me on set tonight. And we are going to have a good conversation. We are going to talk about some things that I think are so relevant as we get into 2026. Welcome. What a blessing to have you on set tonight.
My pleasure to be here, Doc.
Yeah. Keith, you are a good brother. You know, since I've met you and just interacting with you, there is so much knowledge that comes out of you. And to have you here with us tonight it's a blessing in so many different ways. But I want to talk to you a little bit about your past. You know, I know you have been on several different mediums where you have spoken about your past. I just want to touch a little bit about it. Tell us a little of where you're from, some of your early experiences that you would wish you could change, but you can see now that that was all working out to bring you to the place you are and to the man that you are today.
Okay. First off, it's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be able to give back to the community. One of the things that comes to mind is which is what a lot of people know about, and that's the robbery cases that were committed during my teenage years. A lot of it was done out of peer pressure and attention seeking, raised in a proper under a proper foundation, 2-parent home, God-fearing parents, churchgoers, not only churchgoers but also practice what they preach. But however, I made some decisions personally that detoured my life from the direction that I anticipated going early on.
Right. And I know one of the things that you know, sometimes we realize that the things that we do in our past kind of defines who we are to so many people. And it's sometimes we have to rewrite the script to bring some meaningful definition to who we are. But I know that you spent some time incarcerated.
Right.
That's an experience that many of us don't know what it feels like in terms of that physical prison system, but many of us are struggling with incarceration mentally.
Gotcha.
Talk to us a little bit about what that time incarcerated would have done to you, how it would have affected you mentally and emotionally.
Oh, man. You know, I think there are a number of things that black males particularly go through that can be diagnosed as a disorder based upon either what they're growing up in or what they've been subjected to. And my situation when it came to serving time is that it was an eye-opener for me in the sense that I realized I was now in a place where my actions justify my going, but my upbringing and how I looked at life outside of making wrong decisions, I was like, man, it's a hell, because I couldn't identify with those that I was now subjected to live with for years.
Right. How did you respond in terms of being tenacious, going through what would be a different kind of grind to what we define as daily grind when it comes to going to work, putting food on the table?
Gotcha.
This would have been a different kind of mental and emotional tenacity that you would have had to exercise during that time to make it from one day to the next and then from 1 week to the next.
Right.
What gave you that extra strength to make it from week to week? How did you deal with birthdays and Christmas? Meaningful times in your life. How did you deal with those things?
The initial, the first year or two, they were pretty traumatic. First year during the holiday season is when they usually would rewind or look back at what occurred throughout the year.
Right.
And of course, the case that I caught was very publicized, so it was one of the top stories. So again, it was being reminded of what I had just been sentenced for, and that in itself was like a picture of, okay, this is reality now.
Right.
This is how far you've gone. There's no more calling for your mom, expecting for your dad to show up. And it was a humbling experience, because I also remember it went from getting gifts that I'd never even imagined receiving as a child to Christmas would be a bag of stale popcorn and 2 peppermints.
Wow.
So, with that being said, I just know that my the mindset that quickly kicked in was all the things in comparing what I was seeing, what I was exposed to immediately and initially as a what I would still say as a kid mentally, but as an adult at 18,
Right.
was it brought me to a point of understanding this is where you see the training of a child and where it takes him.
Right. So when this time would have passed and you realize, you know what, my time in this place is coming to an end, how did you prepare yourself mentally
To go and
To-
serve time?
to come out of
Out.
serving time?
Ooh. There were a number of things that my parents, the entire time I was gone, we communicated weekly, and they came to visit me every other week for 7.5 years. So that was some grounding that I needed. I also spent most of my time in college while I was there. So I got my associate's degree and began to work on my bachelor's. And I participated in a few vocationals, which helped me to move back and forth. So that helped me to not be so isolated.
Right.
As well as I did a lot of reading. I was introduced to Black history, African history, and Black history in my first year of serving time, and that changed my whole perception of how I looked at my life
Right.
and how I looked at myself. I also, because of confinement and a bunch of time, was able to read the Bible a number of times from front to back. So there were a number of things that I never knew that it prepared me for the journey that I was on. First book I received was the autobiography of Malcolm X. So that was almost like a blueprint of how to go about the process of accepting what you've done and becoming a better person.
You know what's interesting, as you are saying what you are saying, it's really, really, really impacting on me in a particular way, because what I am hearing from you is that even while you were what we'll call physically incarcerated,
Right.
you went to school.
I did.
For many people, that might not have had the motivation to do that. So I sometimes we hear people just say, and I think it's an idle statement to say, well, if you dare, you just got to make use of the time, so you don't have a choice. But a lot of people go through the system and don't come out with a degree. What was the motivating factor that said, you know what, Keith, you're in here, I am going to go to school and get a degree?
It was my parents' encouragement. That was always something that they believed in, getting a higher education. So that was the plan before I got in trouble. The other was the people that God put in it, that I put in my path. There were a number of individuals. My first cellmate went to the church my dad used to pastor.
Wow.
So again, that's just how I had connections, and this is the thing I understood about myself. Even though I wanted to be a better person, you say you're sorry, and most people who say it, they feel it.
Yeah.
However, the people that have been wronged understand that sorry is not a word but change behavior, and that's true because we're creatures of habit. And initially, my first, September 22nd, I'm sentenced. So, of course, for the next 90 days, I got a heart to want to do right. But over time, even in serving time, I got accustomed to doing time. And there were still certain things that I practiced that I had to get out of my system.
Right. So you had to unlearn some things while you were in there.
Correct.
It's interesting because the truth of the matter, even as you're speaking, is that we physical incarceration has limitations as it relates to mental emancipation. It has limitations because we could allow the environment to impact us to the extent that it shuts down potential in us to accomplish and to achieve. Or we can say, notwithstanding the environment I'm in, I am going to keep doing what can be done because when you would have come out of that incarceration period in your life, you were more educated, you were more knowledgeable about the whole idea of black history. Very few people who are in church every Sunday could say that they would have read the Bible back and forth twice. I have never read the entire Bible. So that and the thing that I know from a lot of brothers who I interact with going through the system, when they read the Bible, they really don't just read it as a story. They read it to get knowledge.
Yeah.
So you would have left that environment with so much. How did you prepare yourself now to come back into quote unquote real life outside of the incarceration when you know, okay, next 2 weeks I'm going to be out? How were you preparing yourself for that?
I was excited, ready to go. But I do remember the day that I received notice that I was about to be released, and I cried like a baby because I had developed a lot of relationships with people that I knew were quality people. They were just in a bad situation, and I would never see them again. Yeah. One of the things that I remember when I was released was I wanted to work. I wanted to make some money. And they had a program in place to help those that were released to find jobs called Project Rio. And I found a job within a week's time. And then I realized, I remember talking to the first lady of Friendship West Baptist Church, Sister Haynes, and she proposed a question to me and said, "What is it that you want to do with your life?" And in my mind, I was just like, I just want to work for some money, because I had been doing free labor for 7.5 years, right. and now I knew I'm home. I have my parents to fall back up on, but I still know what is needed in order to survive. Yeah. And for so long, I wrestled with what is it that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. What is your purpose? Right. What is your purpose? Right. And in my mind, it was still about making money. So I remember seeing peers, people that I'd gone to school with, those that hadn't finished school, similar to what Pastor's sermon was about, those that were ahead and doing well, and my having to catch in. Not catch up, but just to catch in. And I remember there not being programs in place where I could go and speak about the issues that I was going through or the feelings I was having. Because you go from one lifestyle let's say you released on a Friday, and you're thrown in a whole different dynamic on a Saturday. Yeah. And there's no classes that were directing you on what to do, how to do it, or programs in place. So I remember getting to a point of having anxiety issues. And I remember almost having a mental breakdown. And those things, as I speak on it now, were things that I just dealt with, internalized, or worked myself through. That's the only options I had at that moment.
Right.
But along in the midst of all that, I came to understand what purpose was. And I replaced my wanting to work for money to embracing my purpose. So now it has changed how I look at life. Those things that I think I need, I don't. The things that I know I need to do, I do. So it's about understanding that your life is given to you for a reason. A lot of us don't ever figure out what those reasons are.
Yeah.
You know, are you tied to, we talk about spiritual gifts and what folks don't know. And when you become familiar with those things, it changes your perspective on life. You can understand the service of serving others, one another. It's not about, man, how much I'm going to get, as opposed to that you realize that I've done something for someone. And one of the things that has helped me to overcome is those things that I want. Most of our days begin with waking up, whatever we went to sleep in our mind, waking up with those same things, and nothing of concern about how we gonna make a difference in life. And I was taught that if you get up, go about serving others, and make an impression on others, that as the day goes, it takes your mind away from what they call an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And so, and then at the end of the day is when you take those concerns to Christ. Then you pray on them, and then you rest on them, as Eve did about those things that he was anxious for.
Yeah. And I like what you're saying, because another thought that comes to mind, and I want to ask you, you talk about the mental side and how you were impacted. Coming back now after 7.5 years and trying to get into some sense of normalcy and realizing that things have changed from then to now. No matter what would have been explained to you, you have to deal with it day in, day out. At what stage did you realize, you know what, I need to address the spirit, man?
Man, I think I've been on that journey for a minute. I think I became fully aware of it within the last, I'd say, 5 years. As I've matured from being very smart to very wise.
Right.
Because there's a difference in the sense that, when you're smart, you lean on what? Your own understanding.
Right.
And that'll get you in trouble. Smart thoughts lead to smart mouth, which can get your smart in trouble. So, as I grew, I came to, and it brought a certain sense of peace to me. Right. Matter of fact, I know one of the moments that really it was like an aha moment for me, like with the question you just asked. And that was my son. I bought a car for my son, and we made an agreement on what he would be responsible for and what I would be. And within the first 30 days, he broke in contract. And in doing that, on a conversation that dealing with something totally that was irrelevant to the car, he shared with me that he was grown. And it hit me. It did. It took me a number of levels. For a couple of days, I really wanted to hurt him. But I had become a person that knew how powerful prayer was. Not in the sense of just for what I desire, in a sense of what I want worked out, but for inner self.
Right.
And look at myself. And then there are a number of things that came to mind. One, I used to sneak the car. Two, I used to sneak it after I got caught on numerous occasions. And so I thought about the grace period that my parents had given me and all that I had done.
Right.
And then my prayer was, because I was like, again, if I lean on my own understanding, some it's not going to turn out as it should. Mm-hmm. So I prayed about it. And there were two things I asked in prayer. That my son not kill himself or kill anybody. And within a month's time, Easter Sunday, he had a wreck. Wow. Total car out, hit a parked car. No one injured. So my prayers were answered.
Right.
And again, in the same sense, there were things that I was willing to try that I had read.
Right.
Prodigal son.
Yeah.
So even in his wrong, the insurance was covered by Gap. Mm-hmm. So I got the down payment plus back.
Right.
I gave it to him, and I told him, now you go get your own car.
Right.
And you figure out how you get your insurance. So I gave him what I deemed was his inheritance at that time. Mm-hmm. And I cut ties with him in the sense that I know even though he's my son, he's not in the right spirit. And I can't forget that. Because a lot of times we look at one another as for who they are, as opposed to what's in them or what's on them. Oof. And we look, and if you take your feeling out of it, because my dad, minister, would say, hey, you talk to Kyle, who is my son, and I would say, no, I haven't. But in your asking, you have to understand, it's just like two cups. One's full, other's full. Why would I pour into a full cup? He has to come to himself,
right,
in order to be poured into.
That's good.
And what was wowing about that whole situation, because I was willing to try, within 30 days he was back to himself and telling me, Dad, I can't do it without you. Wow. But I watched my dad be a safety net all my life.
Right.
And the more you watch this, you fall off a brick and get caught. You just climb on two bricks, and then and as long as you had that, you'll risk it all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm hearing so much wisdom coming from you, and I like what you said. When we lean on our own understanding, that is being smart, and that is so true. I like the context and the perspective that you give to that. So you're a grandfather.
Yes.
You have granddaughters. You have grandsons.
Right.
What would you say differently, based on talking to your grandson or the granddaughter? What will be the difference in terms of what you would say to them now as it relates to understanding and answering the who am I question? Because you talked about purpose. What would you say differently to both of them?
There are a number of things that I think is important with my grandchildren. I apply some of it to the parent, to my being a father, to my two. And the one is that I didn't try to mold them into who I thought they should be. I let them unfold. And as they unfolded, I tried to direct that energy. As a parent, I've come to understand that there's some children that you just have to be there for.
That's true. That's true.
My daughter, wise child. I'll never, the one time the school called was because she forged a pass for somebody and the teacher cried because she couldn't believe Courtney would do it. And my son different.
Right.
I had to be involved.
Right.
Two totally different children, so we have to understand that there are different dynamics when you're dealing with them. Yeah. When I watch my grandson, Kenzo, he reminds me so much of myself. Mm-hmm. And then I think about those things that I used to try or I thought I could get away with, and no, there not being that needed direction or eye up on me at that time. So I try to help plan out their futures.
I like that. We have some comments. I just want to read a couple of comments. Robert Percy says, so proud of this young man from the way he had to rebuild his life because he was a football legend who failed but found God, who brought him back, but with a different outlook on life. I like that comment because I listened to you and really it's a different outlook. I want to just take this opportunity to welcome all the online persons that I'm seeing: Nathan McAfee, Dr. Amanda, Mother Shankle, or we have people in India looking at us. Our community church in India, and we have my good friend, a minister in Guyana, South America, Augustus Andrews, looking at us, and we have Brandy in Houston looking at us, Sister Wanda Fuller, Teresa Taylor, and to all the other persons, thank you for being here with us tonight. But now you're a married man.
Yes.
And marriage does shift perspective in so many different ways.
It does.
And I want to bring your wife on the set. So while your wife is coming on the set, I want to give some updates on some things that we have going on right now while your wife is coming on the set. And so thank you again tonight for joining us. I want to just bring some attention to a couple of things. We have our meet and greet here at Community Church on January 17th from 1 to 4. And so you can go online and register for the meet and greet. We are looking forward to having a great time with all of our CMBC members. This is a Community Missionary Baptist Church membership-wide event. And then on Saturday 24th, we have our Christian Education Workshop, which is going to run from 9 to 12 at our Cedar Hill campus. Then big event, one of the biggest events that we host for the year is our College Fair, which is on Saturday 31st, and that runs from 9 to 12 at our Cedar Hill campus. And again, go online, register. I think that this is really so good that we can get so much assistance, financial assistance for our young people that are trying to get into college, and going to college now costs a lot, and so we are willing to help with that. And then one more announcement I want to bring to your attention is that on Sunday, February 8th, we will be celebrating our 33rd anniversary as a church, and we thank God for our senior pastor and for what we have been able to see happen through the community church. We are going to be meeting at the Pilgrim Chapel, the Pilgrim Hall at Dallas Baptist University, and we're going to have a great service on that day. So again, thank you so much, and really it has been such a riveting conversation that I've been having with my brother Keith, but now we have his wife on set with us, Cassie. We are so happy to have her with us, and I want to welcome you on set with us on tonight. And I want to put you on the spot a little bit because
Hey, y'all.
because I want to ask you, Cassie, your husband, I love this brother. I really have great admiration and respect for him from the time I met him. And what it is about this brother that you said, you know what, I am willing to spend the rest of my life with this man?
Oh my God, that's a good question. But Keith, it's the knowledge and wisdom that he has for me. It is. I tell him all the time I admire him so much, because to know what he went through, what he's been through, and like who he is now, I would have never imagined, because I didn't know who he was when I met him. So, but yeah, I would have never. So I admire his
That's
his
good.
wisdom and knowledge.
What does she bring to the table? What does she? I mean, a woman comes into your life. What does she bring to the table, Keith?
It's a wild question for me. She's a jack of all trades. She's very gifted in so many ways. Driven, proactive, ambitious, life of the party.
Yeah.
You know, I know that there was a moment in our dating that I was like, and it became an eye opener for some things that I stop things that I see now in terms of how you read people.
Right.
And I remember looking, just one day I was thinking, I was like, man, who she remind you of?
You.
And that's what it was. Yes. So I just know that there are a lot of things that I took serious when I met her. I realized that, you know, dating and marriage were two totally different entities.
Yeah.
And the mindset that I had regarding marriage, because I believe that's a level of loyalty that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I remember showing loyalty to my friends, to the sense it led to.
Right.
So with that, I felt that, and that one of the things that I came to understand about being who I am today is one of the mistakes that people make in becoming Christians is that energy that they used in doing wrong, they don't use it in doing right.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Get back on me.
we will. So with that being said, I came to understand that you know, good draws good.
Yeah, it does.
And in meeting Cassandra, I was like, after, you know, we've had our growing moments and our seasons, but we've come to understand that we would rather be together, and it's different under holy matrimony. I don't see a sense of losing. I see a sense of working on it, as opposed to having the option. So that's the blessing in it for me.
Wow.
I get a book.
Yeah,
You
it
do.
is, right? So, Cassie, what do you see in Keith that you talk about the wisdom, but I would look at Keith sometimes on a Sunday morning especially when you are singing, he would be smiling, you know, and then there are other times when I would look at him and either the sermon is being preached or the worship is going on, and I will see this brother in tears, and I would say, wow, you know, because, you know, we are in an environment where men should not shed or show that sense of emotion.
Right.
What does that say to you when you see your husband showing that level of openness and transparency?
Just the love that he has for God, and he's not ashamed.
Right.
You know, and I don't see that in a lot of men, to show their emotions and cry and just be a strong black man. To know even though he's crying and emotional, he's strong.
Yeah.
He is. So, and most of the time when I sing, I don't even realize it. I said, baby, your husband just cried. I said, really? But that's just who he is.
Yeah.
You know, a strong black man that's not ashamed to show his emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Jesus wept.
Okay. We're gonna roll with that.
So one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about, because your wife came out of a home where her father is a minister,
Right.
similarly with you. So there would have been that, what I call spiritual groundedness. And one of the
Correct.
things that we talk a lot about within the context of church is being equally yoked and all that kind of stuff. How do you define your marriage now in terms of both of you guys coming together? How would you define it? And then I want Cassandra to kind of tell me, how do you define your marriage now?
In comparison to
The background you came out from,
Okay,
being
okay.
equally yoked,
Ooh.
you know, that kind of stuff.
I know for me, we are. You can. There are people that I believe live through us vicariously, and we both embrace that. I think that the difference with with mine is they've been diehard Christians, my entire life. And when I say that, nothing against them, but I just embraced my beliefs and didn't lose who I was in the midst of becoming a Christian. And that has helped me to be a living witness, because I do believe that a person that lives as a Christian, the initial attraction to anybody else should be how they carry themselves and how they interact with others. That should be your greatest witness, act of witnessing.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, when I met Cassandra, and it was important for me to know about her background, her upbringing, and that it galvanizes the relationship for me, because I know there are certain things that I can be held to and that she can be held to based upon just being pulled up on the train and how we were trained.
So let me ask you a question before I go to Cassandra too. How did you talk to her about your past? And then I want to ask her what she thought about when you would have said, this is my past. Because I said it earlier in the podcast that many times we are defined and judged by our past. The progress that we have made, people still look at us, and you see it even scripturally. The blind beggar received his sight, but he was still called the blind beggar.
Yeah.
You see, and I want to know how you spoke to her about, listen, this is what I did. How did that conversation go?
Go ahead.
I really don't remember.
I do.
I was about to say I was gonna pass it to my wife. I do know this. Prior, I'd already been exposed to my past by the time I'd met her, so I really didn't even think about what she thought.
Right.
But I think her story is probably one you want to hear.
Talk to us. Talk to us.
No, when he had shared his background, I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him. But I can remember telling my parents about, like, when I started dating Keith and he was sharing, my daddy was like, y'all sure do know how to pick him. But as time went by and just knowing his background, I'm not going to even lie, just who he is now and the person that I met, I just couldn't put two and two together.
Right.
I couldn't, because of some of the things that I have seen people that, being in his position and where they are now, nothing like him. Nothing. Yeah. So I'm just thankful that God saved him for me.
Yeah, real transformation.
Yeah.
So what would you say to young women, Cassandra? Because one of the biggest problems we have is, even as adults, I've made some terrible mistakes as it relates to choices, relationship choices, terrible mistakes, and have paid a costly price for some of the mistakes that I have made. What do you say to women now, or young women? You're a young adult. What do you say to young adult women who may have tried and failed and about to give up? And you are saying, what would you say to them now?
Always trust in God and have an open mind to know that God, without God, you can't do nothing. So to know that if you fail, and just keep going, knowing that whatever the purpose that God has for you is there. You're not here for no reason. So we're going to make mistakes, going to keep it going. But you got to just have that mind, to have an open mind to know that, okay, God, I trust you.
Trust.
I have faith in you.
Faith.
That no matter what I'm going through, it's just simple. Right. If someone is going through something worse, just keep trying, keep going. Yeah. Don't give up.
So I want to pose the same question to you, Keith. What do you say to young men now? We have a men's ministry. We meet every Wednesday. And from the age of 49, 50 and up, we have men coming together. And I wouldn't go into details. But the whole idea of making the right decision as it relates to marriage and relationships is a real struggle for many of us as men. And I will, total transparency for me, I'm in the process of trying to figure that out even at my
Right,
age.
right.
So what do you say to the brothers?
Ooh. Initially, figure out who you are. That's the most important relationship. That and the relationship that you build with God along the way. I think a lot of times we misprioritize the importance of being in a committed relationship or marriage. There's a lot we learn along the way. I remember my mom sharing with me that she was raised to live her life. And when she got to a certain age, she realized that there were a number of things that she no longer wanted to do. And there were a number of things that she knew she was running out of time to do.
Wow.
So she did. She got all of her done before she took on the role of a wife. And we all play different roles at different times.
Right.
You, Reverend Rainey, you're a minister at a moment. You're an individual at another moment. Whatever your job is outside of the church, that's another thing. So we have to know how and when to play our roles. And typically, we want to jump in one role when we ain't learned how to. So with that being said, that's my first bit of advice. Learn you, figure you out. And along the way, there are some things that fall in line.
Right.
Adam had authority over things, so find a job, find a place. School, the women for a man and man for a woman are mere distractions along the road of life.
Wow.
And they usually kick in at times when we need to be focused on ourselves and our future.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my initial bit of advice, but that's a
That's
long
that's
road.
another program.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to read a couple of comments in the system. Letitia Hughes, Councilwoman Hughes, says, "So proud of you. Thanks for sharing your story. Thank Cassie for referencing you in her song on Sunday."
Thank you, baby.
You heard me say your name, right?
Reverend Tidmore, great conversation. Sharonda, she is so in love. And Sister Lee said, "You both are an inspiration to so many people.
Aww.
You complement one another and bring out the best in each other."
Thank you.
And again, Robert Percy says, "A man, but he is he's true to the man he is. I have known this young man since high school. And every time I see him, I tell him how proud I am of him. And now he has a God-fearing woman by his side." And that is such a blessing. One of the things as we wrap up tonight that I want to leave with our viewing audience is that when God restores, the work is a testimony in and of itself. And to have both of you guys on set tonight, to hear the wisdom that is coming from you, Keith, to hear, Cassie speaking truthfully to the life together and the relationship is a blessing to so many people. I thank you all for coming. Cassie, any closing thoughts?
Hey, he that findeth a wife find a good thing, and I'm that good thing. Hello.
Bless her.
Any final thoughts for us, Keith?
I just appreciate being invited out. One of the things that I think is important is that people have the ability to access platforms like this so that they can be empowered. There are so many avenues to get wrong or misinformation.
Yeah.
And a lot of us who carry our cross as well still need to be helped in carrying them. So I just appreciate being called out.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for coming. And again, to everyone that has joined us tonight, if I didn't mention your name, it's not intentional. We thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Again, thank you, Keith. Thank you, Cassie. We love and appreciate you guys.
My
and
pleasure.
On behalf of our community family, thank you all for joining us. See you next week, Monday. God bless.
Strike back.
Bless you.